Hello, my dear students. So, in today's section, we will going to study about the menstrual cycle. So, menstrual cycle, which occurs, cyclical changes are there which occurs during the puberty. In the menstrual cycle, dear, let's start with the discussion, and we will start with anatomy of the uterus. So, in the image, you can see this is the uterus. If we talk about the various layers of the uterus from inside, this is the endometrium. Endometrium, myometrium, and the foremost external is the perimeter. The same image, endometrium, myometrium, and the perimeter. So endometrium plays a major role in menstrual cycle. In each cycle, the shedding which occurs is of the layer of the endometrium. Now, you should have an idea that there we are having hypothalamus pituitary axis is there. So the hypothalamus there releases GnRH. The hypothalamus releases GnRH. The GnRH will work on the pituitary. And from the pituitary, we are having anterior pituitary and we are having the posterior pituitary. So anterior pituitary, dear, we're going to release various hormones. So we are having a TSH, we are having a ACTH, FSH, and LH, growth hormone, and the prolactin. So the main hormone which is play a major role in menstrual cycle is the FSH and the LH. So, as the name suggests, FSH, follicular stimulating hormone, and the luteinizing hormone. Now, there's a question. Do boys, men also are having these hormones? Are you getting my question? Is LH, FSH is present in the men's also? Yes, it is present here. This kind of question can be asked. So, what's the function? What's the function in them? Let's see. So, we are talking about the function of LH and the FSH in the men. So we are having a pituitary. So in the anterior pituitary, it releases dear LH, that is luteinizing hormone. Now it will act in the Leydig cells. So Leydig cells पे act करेगा. So this will ultimately help in producing the testosterone. Similarly, the anterior pituitary also releases follicular stimulating hormone in men, and it will act on the Sertoli cells, which help in formation of spermatids. That is, you should know this spermatogoniano. So now we got a concept that yes, men's also releases. Boys also have LH and FSH, but they have a different role. So this kind of concept you should be having. So menstrual cycle is divided into various, you can say, phases. Now it is divided into ovarian and the uterine cycle. So in ovaries there are changes and on the layers of the endometrium. So we talk about the ovarian, it is divided into follicular phase and the luteal phase. As the name suggests, the follicular, that means the follicles inside the ovaries getting matured under the influence of the FSH, that is follicular stimulating hormone. So let's go further. So we are having a uterus and we are having an ovary over there. So let's have a close section of the ovary. So this is how the anatomy of the ovary dear. So now in the image you can see dear, we are having small follicles are there in this ovary. Okay, these are the follicles. So these follicles get mature under the influence of FSH, which is released by the anterior pituitary. Okay, so we are having primary follicle. Let's have a close section of this again. So again, here the FSH is acting and this changes into primary follicles and the secondary follicles. Always remember, in women, okay, in the woman, when the woman is there in the intrauterine time, dear, okay, this process of all oogenesis happens at that time itself. Start from the 4 weeks, okay. Then mitotic division take place. Then arrest hota hai wahan pe. And when a woman reaches at the age of the puberty, okay, now it's undergo meiosis and the process happens. Okay, so this is primary follicle. Then we are at this primary follicle are surrounded with this, this kind of things which you can see follicles, secondary follicle, and it is filled with a fluid which is known as antrum. And then it turns into the secondary, and ultimately, then it releases estrogen. Okay, क्या release करता है? It releases estrogen. So we will have a discussion like how this hormones help in various phases. Let's have a quick small concept. So till now we have studied that in the ovary, these follicles are matured with the help of follicle stimulating hormone. They changes from primary to secondary, and the changes of meiosis happens. Meiosis steps happen, meiosis 1, meiosis 2, okay, and the polar bodies formation take place. Okay, and under the influence, this mature, so this releases a hormone which is known as estrogen. Okay, so this is an image, like I already told you that the oogenesis happens before when a woman is born, and then got arrested. This is here, the mitosis is there, and then the meiosis happens. The primary oocytes change into secondary oocytes. Okay, next. Now, again, let's talk about the woman, the same thing. So, as this follicle increases, it releases a hormone which is known as estrogen. Okay, so this estrogen is having a very beautiful role. What? Number one, the estrogen is having a negative role on the FSH. Okay, it is having a negative role on the FSH, and it has a, when this value, increases here, as the value increases, it has a this positive feedback on LH. Okay, always remember estrogen and progesterone are gonna work opposite. So till now we have got a concept that FSH act on the follicles, and as the primary follicle change into secondary follicle, it releases estrogen. So the hormone estrogen level keeps on increasing. So this is happening in the ovary. We are talking about the follicular phase. Follicular phase, still we have studied follicular phase is there, and we have studied about the luteal phase. So in the follicular phase, now the estrogen increases. So as the estrogen increases, it has a negative role on FSH and positive role on LH. So at the 14th day, we all know there is ovulation. Okay, the same image. I'm just see primary follicle. Okay, when this follicle grows, this is known as a graphene. So known as a graphene follicle. This is known as a graphene follicle, and it releases estrogen. Okay, now till now we have discussed till time of ovulation. Let's have a quick recap. So in the starting time, let's see the estrogen level. So this is yellow line is estrogen. So now you can see the estrogen was not that much, but as soon as this follicle matures, it releases the estrogen, and the estrogen levels keeps on increasing. Okay. Now, this estrogen was not there. It is increasing. This one is estrogen, pink one. Now, as the estrogen increases, it has a positive effect on this LH. Okay. So ultimately, dear, again, let's have a quick recap for that. So again, you just see the direction where I am pointing. This yellow line tells you about the LH. So LH is, there's a hype. As there's a hype, there will be LH surge will be there. So now you just see in the follicular phase, this primary follicle is converting to secondary follicle. The secondary follicle gonna release those estrogen. So you can see a pink line which is raising, estrogen is high. Now, the ovulation happens because of the LS surge. Now, who is doing the LS surge? Estrogen. Okay, so ultimately, at the time of ovulation, LS surge is there. So a slight, in the starting, no FSH was there, and slight at the 14 weeks, there's slight increase of FSH also. So that's why, if you have studied about the contraceptive devices, contraceptive methods and all, so there's a concept of basal body temperature to monitor. Okay, so basal body temperature slightly, it increases on, okay, during the ovulation period. Okay, so till now we are clear till the follicular phase. Now we'll talk about something about the estrogen also. So what is the role of the estrogen? Let's see what happens in the endometrium. So the estrogen, dear, is having a role of proliferating the uterus. So the uterus is being proliferated like this. The growth is there because we need to conceive the baby, so we have to make a uterine bed. Okay, so the estrogen has a role. Number one, it's adds on for the growth of the endometrium. One more question I want to add is that since the estrogen adds on for the proliferation of the endometrium there, so never ever estrogen is not given single. If we talk about the contraceptive device, estrogen is never given as a single. Why? Because it can lead to endometrial cancer. That's why whenever we are choosing any kind of contraceptive device, estrogen is given along with the progesterone. Okay, so till now you're clear with some concept. So if we talk about the question, let's have a discussion. So LS surge happens because of which? It's happened because of the estrogen. Okay, is that clear? And what is the role of the estrogen? Estrogen has a positive feedback mechanism on the LH, and it has a negative role on the FSH. Okay, so till now we are clear. Now let's move to the next cycle. Now, till now it is the follicular phase ovulation. Now let's talk about the luteal phase. So again, let's talk about the luteal. Okay. So in the luteal phase, now see this LH values is going down. Okay. Now this green line, you can see this hormone is increasing. What is this hormone? Dear, this hormone is nothing but is your progesterone. Now the question arises for where the progesterone is being secreted. Let's start. Again, we'll go back inside the ovary. So in the ovary, after release of the ovum, now this is turned into like this, and this is known as your thing is known as a corpus luteum. Now, what does the corpus luteum secretes? Okay, so the corpus luteum, dear, secretes three main hormones. Number one, your estrogen. Number two, your progesterone. And the number three is inhibin. Now, the estrogen, dear, it adds on for the growth of the endometrium and the promoting the work of the now progesterone. Let's see again back. Let's talk about this. Now, here you see. Now, the green line shows you about the progesterone. So, if I'll ask you, what is the source of the progesterone? Progesterone was not present in the follicular phase. Okay, so what is the role of the progesterone? From where the progesterone is being released? It is released from this corpus luteum. Okay, so it is released from the corpus luteum. And another role of the progesterone is inside the endometrium, the secretory action. to stick all this thing, the endometrium, the cementing kind of activity, the secreting activity of the, even if a mother is having any kind of abortion, okay, so if we want to continue, like for the threatened abortion, we want to continue the pregnancy, progesterone injections are given. Is that clear? So now you should get an idea that the progesterone acts as a secretory function in the endometrium. Okay, so let's move further. So now the corpus luteum is releasing this. Now this progesterone is having an opposite role of estrogen. Since we have studied the estrogen has a negative effect on the LH. Sorry, positive effect on the LH. We have studied. But this progesterone is having a negative effect on the LH. Is that clear? Okay. One more thing I want to add, that the luteinizing hormone also helps in the maintenance of this corpus luteum. So just imagine if this is the uterus and this fertilization does not took place inside the womb. So ultimately, what happened, since the progesterone has a negative effect on the LH, and LH is also having a role in the maintenance of what? Corpus luteum. Since now the progesterone is increasing, so the LH is decreasing. So LH is decreasing, so there's decrease in the corpus luteum activity. Ultimately, all the hormones which are released by the corpus luteum, your estrogen decreases, your progesterone decreases. So ultimately, if this is the uterine bed, now since the estrogen, progesterone are decreasing, so how this bed will continue? So it will gonna shut down, and then the menstrual cycle will continue. Okay, then again the menstrual cycle will continue. So this was about the menstrual cycle. Okay, so let's have again a recap of the menstrual cycle, dear. Let's have a quick recap in the same thing. Okay, so we are having two phases. We are in the ovarian cycle and your endometrial thing. So we are having a follicular phase and we have a luteal phase. In the follicular phase, under the influence of the FSH, okay, the follicles convert into primary follicle, your secondary follicle, and as this increases, there's increasing level of estrogen. And since estrogen increases, it has a positive effect on the LH. And since LH is increasing, LH surge will be there. And when LH surge is there, then there will be a ovulation. Okay, so ovulation will be there, and after that, this is converted into corpus luteum. Corpus luteum will gonna release estrogen, progesterone, and inhibin. Okay, and progesterone is having dear. Just tell me, progesterone is having a role of secretory action, but it also has a negative effect on LH, and LH has a good role in maintenance of corpus luteum. So LH value decreases, and ultimately the corpus luteum degenerates. So all the levels of progesterone, estrogen again drops down, and so the menstrual cycle happens. So this was a small concept about the menstrual cycle. So let's have a one more concept. Let's study something else. So is estrogen only released by your ovaries? It is also released by adrenal gland, adipose tissues, and it is also add on with the HRT, like some women take hormonal replacement therapy. So let's have a differentiation between the estrogen and progesterone, dear. Whatever in the body, the secondary sexual characteristics, it's all happened because of the estrogen. It's add on for the formation of good bone strength and all. So that's why the woman who undergoes menopause, you will see they will have a symptoms of, flushes will be there, hot flushes will be there. They will be very irritable. Why? Because estrogen and progesterone are not at all being secreted by the ovaries. Okay, so mood, everything is dealt by the estrogen. Okay, so it's also add in the your proliferation of the endometrium. Okay, You should know this thing very. And also increased risk of breast and endometrial cancer. It also has a increased risk of dear endometrial cancer. So that's why I already told you that never ever gonna give the estrogen tablets alone. If you talk about the progesterone, it is also having a natural diuretic effects, okay, and protects a woman from breast cancer and endometrial cancer. So this was a small session, Dave. I hope so you got an idea. Thank you so much for seeing my video.